everybody, and welcome back to another 52-week movie challenge. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and yeah, so normally I haven't really been having a lot of people, come do this because it's every week, and it's kind of hard to just get people to do it every, to get a new person every week. So I haven't, but this one I don't think a lot of people would have sat through. So let's begin. This is week number 9, and I had to choose an independent film. And if you guys know me, I know plenty of independent films. Ones that are made on low budget, some are made on a higher budget. This was probably made on a very low budget. I don't know the exact, budget or anything. But here we go. It's called Scotch and Milk. It was made in 1998. The aspect ratio I couldn't find. Running time was 2 hours on the. It was basically an hour and 58 minutes or something, but or so. But there was like 2 or 3 minutes of black, so it ended up being 2 hours long. My rating for it, I didn't write down, but my rating is going to be 2 stars, and we'll get into why. The genre is drama, and it's rated NA. Basically, I couldn't find anything on that either. I don't think they took this against the rating board, so I guess unrated or whatever you want to call it. Adam Goldberg, Nikki Cat, Clea Lewis, and Giovanni Ribisi, Cole Hauser, a few other people star in this movie. AJ Nadeau, bunch of people, especially a lot of people from the Richard Linklater camp, including Richard Linklater himself makes a cameo. And we'll get into that stuff later. Directed by Adam Goldberg, produced by Adam Goldberg and Earl Goldberg, and I think Nikki Cat helped produce as well. Written by Adam Goldberg, music by NA. Could not find the composer, and I couldn't find any awards received. This is the first time I had NA a lot in my stuff. So sorry, I did a lot of research and tried to find this stuff, but I couldn't. Because why did you choose this particular film? Because for the longest time, I've been dying to see it, and just haven't been able to. By the way, I'm wearing my Reservoir Dogs shirt, and it kind of fits with the people in the background behind me. That's the cast, and everything. And plus, I couldn't find a poster. I swear to God, there used to be a poster for this. It said Scotch and Milk, and it had Adam Goldberg's name and stuff, and I could not find it. So, okay, would you recommend this film? Why or why not? Not really. It's a little slow. If you're an Adam Goldberg fan, then yes, please watch it. Check it out. I mean, you might not be able to sit through the whole thing. I sat through the whole thing because I had to do the review. But had this been just like me just perusing and trying to find a film to watch, I would have turned it off. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with anyway? I said, I guess Jim, which is Adam Goldberg's character, as from being a writer. That's the only thing I could connect with him. But most of the people in this are just incredibly boring characters. There's nothing really interesting about any of them, and I'll get into more of it later in a second. What's the difference, or was the best line or memorable quote was, what's the difference between a dead trombone player in the road and a dead skunk in the road? The answer was the skunk was on its way to a gig. So I thought that was kind of funny. But that's the only thing I can remember from the movie is that joke. And I think Nikki Cat did that joke. Were you surprised by the ending? What would you have done differently? It's like, I don't really understand what I watched, and we'll get into that. Do you usually prefer to watch indie films over Hollywood big studio productions? Why or why not? To me, it's 50-50. I love both big indies, small Hollywood, and grand Hollywood. Anything else I like to add? I just said go watch it on YouTube, and I'll put the link on the bottom. So that was my thing for this for week 9. And so first of all, I chose this film because I've heard of it since for a long time. I'm a huge big fan of the movie Swingers, which will be on Film Freaks this season. I'm really excited because it's one of my favorite films of all time, and I love it to death. It's There's just something about that movie, and I think a lot of people, that was made in 96, I believe. And like after then, a lot of people wanted to do movies similar in style and tone, but and they call this a comedy on the uh on the IMDb, and I don't really feel like I laughed much, like at all. I felt if there were a comedy, it was very dry and very just bad comedy. Um, there was one line in it which I thought was awkward and weird. It was like the girl it was on the phone with some guy named Steve, and he was like, "I can't believe you have a friend named Steve." And the girl looks at him and was like, "What's that supposed to mean?" And he looks, it was like it was a joke. And I'm like, "Oh, what? 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 People can't have a friend like Steve is like one of the most common names for guys these days, it seems. I don't know. It was terrible. It was a terrible, yeah. Um, so I don't like dissing independent films, especially ones where you could tell it was a labor of love. They really tried. I don't like dissing that because, like, I get it. This was a labor of love. This was very personal. You could feel it when you were watching it, and I dug that. I dug the hell out of that. Adam Goldberg, this is your first film. And Jesus Christ, you were gonna make, what you wanted to make. You weren't gonna let you weren't gonna let a studio tell you what to do. You were gonna make your movie. The problem being is that, like, especially 2 hours long, Jesus Christ. It just felt I literally thought, like, oh my God, I've only watched a half hour of this movie and it already feels long. Um, it There's some movies like that, and I mean, we live in a culture that does watch 3 hours of stuff every day, binge watching TV shows or movies or whatever. Movies do get longer at times. But this just didn't feel like it should have been that long. On top of it, I feel like the biggest problem with this movie is it felt very disjointed. Like I just didn't understand. Sometimes it felt like were we in another were we in flashbacks or were we like in the it felt like it was trying to kind of go a Tarantino route. So it's funny that I put this up there where it's sort of like the story kind of goes non-linear, and that's fine. Look, I don't mind Tarantino non-linear stuff, but not everybody can pull that off with people like understanding what's going on. And so I didn't know if that was the case. I didn't know, had they broken up and gotten back together how many times. Like it just got very confusing, and I didn't know what was going on half the time. So for anybody who hasn't seen it or whatever, it's basically about this guy, Jim, who is Adam Goldberg, and I'm pretty sure this is Adam Goldberg, except I don't know how much into the 50s thing that he's into. And it didn't even. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a second, the 50s thing. But so he's in a cab and he's driving around. Now, I don't know how he has money to be just giving, and he even says to the driver, "Don't worry, I've got it. Just keep driving," kind of thing. And I'm like thinking the whole time, how does this guy have like enough money to just drive around town and think about? I mean, because he's not telling, like, it would have been cooler if he was telling the cab driver his like life story or something. But it didn't seem like he was doing that. It seemed like he was just thinking about his life story and how he was gonna, talk to this girl and how he was gonna get back together with her and how blah blah blah. And like that would have been a cool idea, where that's actually a good idea for a story, for a movie, like a cab driver being told the story of how this guy lost his, girlfriend and wanted to get her back. His friends were his bros. He loved them to death, but they sort of kind of broke them apart a little bit. There's a little bit of that shit. So it's one of those movies that I wanted so hard to like really enjoy it, for its whatever, but I don't know. There's just something. It was tough, man. It was tough because there was just something about the characters, like the friends, the bros that he had that were like, I don't know what they were. They were all like they were all trying to be different characters, like Giovanni Ribisi, who I adore. I thought he was probably my favorite, even though that was just because he had a weird ass character arc to him. Like he just kind of was like out there and strange. What is it? What's his name? Nicky Cat was wonderful too. I loved him. I adored him, but he didn't like those guys didn't have enough for a 2 hour long movie to like really be invested in anything that they were doing. I mean, you saw Nicky a little bit more than you saw any of the other guys, and probably because he's helping produce and make it, so he was on set most of the time. But it just seemed really strange. I don't know. Trying to like make this so people can understand, but like it was such a strange movie that I don't even know if I fully understand what the fuck happened. Like it has so much, and you might be like, well, you gotta watch it a second time. No, you don't get me that way. Like if it's not interesting the first time, I'm not gonna be interested to go check it out the second time. That's the problem. So I honestly think the movie was just sort of meh, like it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen or anything. The cinematography by, I think the guy's name was like Mark Putnam or something, fucking amazing. His cinematography made the movie at least watchable because some of the scenes were actually pretty or had really good shots to them. You could tell that he, put a lot of love into it. Adam Goldberg did the editing, and I feel like that was the problem. He's a little too close to the movie. They needed to cut things out. And he probably didn't want any of it cut out. Like this feels like a director's cut. But it needed at least a half hour cut out of it. And I would say a lot of it needs to be the guys, the friends that are hanging out. Like there's a good amount with the friends, but like half of it could have been, or half hour of the friends could have been cut out. I mean, them going to the beach, then going to the pier another time, hanging out at their house. There's one part where Giovanni Ribisi freaks out and knocks over a lamp, and I'm like, is this character supposed to be on the spectrum or on drugs or something? Like, what is? I didn't understand any of that. So it was, to be honest, it was such a strange movie to me. Like it was, and I say, okay, so I'm going to describe this like this, and people can agree or disagree how they want to say it if they've seen it. But this movie is a cross between Swingers, which I think was the inspiration, especially with the swinger style people and characters, and the fact that he's fallen in love with the girl he can't have, and blah blah blah. And then it's a mixture between that and Don's Plum. And if you ever seen Don's Plum, it's black and white, just like this movie. It's about a bunch of friends, and it was made around, I want to say it was made around the same time. Maybe I think Don's Plum might have been shot like 3 years before it actually came out. So maybe it was, so maybe they saw this and kind of got inspired by it or something. But Don's Plum was pretty much just a bunch of friends hanging out, that a bunch of celebrities hanging out talking and blah blah blah. And it's interesting that I say that because Kevin Connolly was in it, and he was in, Entourage, and later on Adam Goldberg's in Entourage. I don't know. I think a lot of them run in the same circles and they knew each other and stuff. And this was like, Don's Plum had the Pussy Posse, and I'm saying that sounds terrible, but that's the name of what they were. And this just seems like the swingers posse or something, whatever they want to call it, where they, and I don't know if Adam Goldberg was really like obsessed with the 50s or whatever for himself, like, or if he just wanted his character to be like obsessed with that style. But like there's one scene where he's talking to his girlfriend who apparently she was his former girlfriend. I read this in a review. But her name is Clea Lewis in real life, but she played Ilsa. I think Ilsa. And she's in, they're sort of in bed, and he has a phone call with one of the boys, and he's saying, I can't, I gotta get off here. I'm gonna bang the broad or something like that, or at least she says it like that. And, kid, hey kid. And I was like thinking, no, was that supposed to be the 50s slang? Like, I mean, if you're gonna adopt the 50s slang, go for like the real shit, start saying stuff like, what's up, daddy-o? And it did not feel like really like a swingers like 50s vibe. It felt weird. It felt like a mixture of like probably the 1990s, wannabe swingers vibe. But even kid was probably their money, you're so money, or whatever kind of thing, and trying to give them some kind of thing. And so I go back to the swingers because like literally this feels like a wannabe swingers. And I think that's what it was. Like this was designed to be sort of like their answer to swingers, but more dramatic. And I think that was part of the problem that I thought was like, when you if you made a dramatic swingers, it would be boring. Like the parts I loved about swingers was the comedy, the characters hanging out together, joking, having fun time, all the memorable lines in the movie. I mean, all of that stuff. This didn't have really any of that. And I don't even understand the title Scotch and Milk. I was hoping that I would hear him say, can I get a Scotch and milk? And that'd be like what he always ordered or something. And then I'd be like, that's why it's called it. And I don't know. I know there's a Scotch and milk story in like in like recovery in like AA or something, or whatever. But other than that, I never really heard anybody want to actually have a Scotch and milk. So I didn't get any of that stuff. And I mean, I could, like, if that was what they were trying to get at, because his character was sort of an alcoholic, but it wasn't like, his character wasn't an alcoholic, and his character wasn't even really much of a writer. I mean, you never see him write much and everything. And how does he pay for all this shit? Like when I'm watching him do all this stuff, like what's his normal job? He can't just be a writer, and where does he live? Where is that supposed to be? Because I've read some places Los Angeles, but then it was raining, and I'm like, wait, it doesn't really rain that much in Los Angeles. So was it just like they were lucky enough to get it when in the cab when it was raining, and wow, this is really cool? Or was it supposed to be New York? And like all of these questions I had for the movie, it just, to me, it added up to, I was happy I saw it because I've been dying to watch it ever since I heard of it, or heard the title. I was like, oh my goodness, a black and white movie done by Adam Goldberg. It's his first movie. I actually really did like I Love Your Work, which will probably be on Indie Film Cafe at some point. That movie is phenomenal. Um, Also, I believe stars Giovanni Ribisi. But it's directed by Adam Goldberg. That movie I definitely would recommend. This movie, not so much. And I think if I had to compare anything, and I said, Swingers meets, um, Don's Plum, but what I'd probably also say is this has a little bit of It's Impossible to Learn How to Plow by Reading Books, which is Richard Linklater's first movie where he was just making a movie to say that he could make a movie. So it was literally what was going on, like he didn't even have a character name for Richard Linklater. He's just playing himself going around doing stuff. So like they're eating food, going places, which would normally be boring and everything. And the movie was boring. However, the commentary for that was phenomenal. So if you ever get a chance to pick it up, it's on the Slacker DVD or Blu-ray. I'd prefer the Blu-ray if I were you. And there's commentary on it. And the commentary is just Richard Linklater talking about, how he made it. If they released commentary for this, like Adam Goldberg sat down and explained why he did, or not explained why he did the shots, he doesn't have to do that, but like explain more about the technical aspect of why he made this movie, and stuff, and different things that go on in the movie. I would probably listen to that, and I'd probably love that. He could put that on YouTube too if you wanted to. If you wanted to, it's up to him. I don't care. But I'm just suggesting it because I think that's an amazing, thing. So anyway, all in all, I don't recommend it unless you're an Adam Goldberg fan and you want to watch his first film. I'm a big guy who like loves uh you know people's first films. I sought out like early works of Sam Raimi. I've sought out early works of like Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater. I mean, all of these indie gurus, and Adam Goldberg. I've been wanting to watch it, and I've just been putting it off. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna doing independent film. It's 2 hours long, so I just did not think I'd put it on for uh what is it, Indie Film Cafe. I mean, and after watching it, it's really rough. It's hard to watch. Like it took me probably 4 hours to watch a 2 hour long movie, and it didn't even have commercials or anything. So it wasn't even like I was just, after a while I just have to stop it, go do something else, come back, and you know do it, like go get food or whatever, because I was just getting bored and antsy. It's just not a very it's not a thrill ride or anything, and it's not trying to be. So I didn't expect that, but it's a slow burn. But it's just it didn't work for me. Most slow burns don't. I'm not a big fan of slow burns. I'm like, it's usually my least favorite type of film, and so it actually made me go, you know what, I might want to do something not like this, not ripping this off, but like writing a movie about a dramatic film about romance or whatever, just because I was bored by this one, and I would love to put some like comedy to, I feel like if it had more comedy to it, like funny ass moments, it would have been a better movie, or at least it would have kept me entertained. But like the characters just didn't do anything for me most of the time. Adam, and this is, I hate to say this, it's gonna sound bad, but this is a vanity piece. This was a piece that was supposed to show Adam Goldberg's acting and prowess, and honestly, it didn't. I know Adam. I've seen Adam enough times to know he's a damn good actor. This wouldn't have been my calling card. I think I heard that the reason why it's not available and only available on YouTube is because of the jazz music. And the song that they use was probably the best scene in the movie, honestly, is the main song by that jazz performer. And he had just an amazing voice, and I mean, it's hauntingly beautiful. Great scene. But if that's all you want to watch, there's like a clip of it online. I think Adam Goldberg put up on Vimeo. So I would check that because it's a better better thing. But it, all in all, like I said, if you're a fan of those type stuff, check it out. All right, moving on. So that was week 9. I've done 9 weeks so far. I can't believe it. And I can't believe like the 9th week they decided to do independent films. I mean, that's awesome. Challenge 10, a family-friendly film. Oh, that can be anything. Jesus Christ, that just narrows it down. All right. Well, I guess join us next week for a family-friendly film. I have no idea. I don't even have a clue what I want to pick for that. Like I said, that could be anything. So I guess we'll find out. All right. Well, thank you guys for checking this out. Join us on next week for that one, and have a good one. Bye.